As we get closer and closer to the NBA season, I keep seeing more and more standing predictions from ESPN to Bleacher Report. I just saw The Athletics, other content creators on YouTube, and I consistently see two teams being left out of the play-in conversation. And that's the Portland Trailblazers and the Washington Wizards. Now, before we get into this, I'm not saying these teams are going to surprise everybody and go ahead and win the NBA championship, nothing like that. But I do think they can make the play-in, win their play-in teams, and make that first round matchup interesting for whoever they match up against. These two teams have been on my mind a lot this past week, so I figured let's take some time, and I'm going to tell you why the Washington Wizards and the Portland Trailblazers are at least play-in teams. Let's take a look at Portland first. Last year was a subpar year for them. Dame was out with injury. They finally trade CJ McCollum and break up that dynamic duo that has been doing fairly well these last couple of seasons. There's been a lot of talks about what people are expecting to see from Damian Lillard. I'll be honest, I'm expecting Dame to be Dame coming into this season. Like, I want him to get back to around 26, 27 points a game, shooting 10 threes a night, some solid efficiency. He didn't look good last year, let's be honest, or he at least didn't look like himself. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was playing through that abdominal injury. And you can make the argument if you're playing, you're healthy, but there was definitely something off with Dame last year. And to me, it was that abdominal injury. But when I look at the Portland Trailblazers roster, I like what they have. Anthony Simons had a breakout season last year. Josh Hart's another solid option to give you some more scoring. I think Jeremy Grant's versatility is going to be huge for them in terms of scoring the ball, in terms of defending multiple positions. And Yusuf Nurkic, to me at least, is an undervalued center in the NBA. I low-key think he's underrated. He's dealt with a couple of injuries in his past couple of seasons, so I think people forget about him a little bit. But he's low-key nice. Gary Payton II was a huge pickup for them. I know he's going to be out for a little bit. They're reevaluating him in 2 weeks. I know Blazers fans are high on Shaedon Sharpe and seeing what that rookie can do this year. Am I saying this roster is amazing? No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm getting at here. But I really do think the Portland Trailblazers can surprise a lot of people this season. And I think a big piece of that surprise is going to come from Anthony Simons. Like I said earlier, he had a breakout year once CJ was traded and Dame was no longer playing. He played 30 games off the bench this year. He played 27 without Dame and CJ when he was in the starting lineup. So you get a nice little sample size of what he can look like kind of sort of on a team by himself. Now, was the team winning games? No, but I liked what I saw from him. Immediately once he got into the starting lineup, his scoring went up. He averaged 23 points a game, almost 6 assists. The biggest part for me, though, is because you can make the argument, well, no one else was there, he should have been playing better, is the fact that he actually got more efficient on taking more shots. He goes from 37% from three off the bench to 42% from three once he's in the starting lineup, and he basically doubled his volume. His field goal percentage went up a little bit as well, once again, almost doubling the volume there. What this proved to me is that Anthony Simons can be a really good scorer for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, we have to see what it looks like alongside Damian Lillard, because when he was starting last year without Dame and without CJ, he was the guy with the ball in his hands most of the time. Defensively, this backcourt's going to leave a lot to be desired. Dame, CJ, if they do decide to start Josh Hart at the 3, they're going to give up a lot defensively. Let's get that out the way first and foremost. But I do think they can be solid, for real, for real. When I take a look at Jeremy Grant, what he's done over the last couple of seasons, hovering around that 20 points a game during his time with the Detroit Pistons, call me crazy, but I like Portland. I don't like them to necessarily win a playoff series, but I like them to at least make the playoffs, meaning make the play-in and win their play-in game. Next up, I want to talk about the Washington Wizards. Hear me out. I know they were not good last year, but just like the Portland Trailblazers, that was a team whose star player went down midway through the season. Bradley Beal only played 40 games last year. Very similar to Dame, his numbers were down compared to his previous years. Playing through injury, he didn't look like himself. I'm expecting him to come back, look like himself. And to remind you all what Bradley Beal looked like before this past season, he was just an all-star and all-NBA performer in the 2020-2021 season, putting up 31 points a game with 48% from the field and almost 35% from three. But I'll admit, I do like the rest of their squad. I liked what Kyle Kuzma showed off last year. I'll be honest, I might even have missed him and snubbed him off my top power forward list last season, because for real, he was actually playing really, really well. I feel at this point, a lot of people are over him, but I like the addition of Kristaps Porzingis on the Washington Wizards. Bradley Beal even talked about it in a recent interview with JJ Redick on Old Man in the 3, that he's excited to play alongside of Kristaps Porzingis and thinks they can be really special together. I know it didn't work out for Kristaps in Dallas, but hey, maybe a new situation, a new location will work out better for him. I know there's some question marks about their new starting point guard, Monte Morris, but I think he's primed to show off what he can really do. He started out his career as a backup behind Jamal Murray for the Denver Nuggets. And even this past season when he started, he still wasn't the primary playmaker because, hey, you got Jokic on the team. He's the one making the plays. So I'm very curious to see, and I think he can show off some playmaking skills and be able to play make a little bit more for this Washington Wizards team. They're definitely going to need that from him. But I think the beauty of having Kuzma, Bradley Beal, and Kristaps on this team, he doesn't necessarily have to be a go-to scorer. They're not asking him to score. They're asking him to make his shots when he takes them. But I think they're more so asking him to be able to facilitate and help run the offense. But very similar to the Portland Trailblazers. Do I think they're going to be even a second round team or a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference? No. But I do think they can make the playoffs, and I think they can make things interesting for whoever that first round matchup is. When you have really dynamic scorers like Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, and you have some decent, solid rosters around them, nothing crazy, but solid, they're talented enough in their own right to at least push that team to a play-in spot. To me, at least. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.